right, so today, December 31st, 2020, we are at Cigar Radio, the voice of New Americans. Today I have a special guest, and we are gonna be discussing the runoff, the most diverse square mile in the nation. This is a melting pot for, arts, music, culture, food, and, loving residents. So I wanna greet you all today if you're listening out there, and please, when you get this clip, please share it. It's a very important information. I we discuss here, it's something that we bring to you as Cigar Radio, being a service that we offer to the community. So what does Cigar Radio do? We strive to enrich the community by innovative programming through diverse voices that educate, engage, and empower. So diversity is inclusion. So engage and empower. So diversity is inclusion. So our programs are multi-language. We have ranges of Swahili, Amharic, Arabic, Bhutanese, Somali, Nepali, and the list continues. We try to cover languages that are very representative of the community that we serve. Programming, of course, we have educational-based programming, community announcements, local and international news, music for migrants and refugees, and then also live radio shows like the one today we are having, which we also do, and something that we do. Right now, the virus is being ravaging, and we've been trying to educate the community on how to be safe, and that's something that we do. So I want to say that, like I said earlier, today we have a very, very, very special guest, and I want to take this moment to introduce special guest. We have Glory Kilanko. Glory Kilanko is the Executive Director of Women Watch Afrika, and she's been very instrumental in serving the community, especially refugees and immigrants from the African descent. So she's spent a lot of her time doing this, which I don't want to take this from her. I will let her, kind of dive into just kind of, letting us know what she does in a little bit. Thank you very much, Glory, for being here today with us.
Thank you so much, Justin, for having me. Good morning, and good morning also. We roll by 2020 together. Like Justin said, my name is Glory Kilanko. I'm the founder and CEO of Women Watch Afrika, and we provide comprehensive social adjustment services to African refugees and immigrants, currently serving 23 nations, working with them for them to have the proper understanding of their civic duties in the United States as they all arrive here to make the US their newfound home. And like Justin said, Women Watch Afrika is located in Clarkston. Clarkston is very diverse, both by language and culture. And so sometimes I tell people, if you have not been to the United Nations, make an effort to come to Clarkston, because Clarkston is the mini UN that we have here. So for those who are listening, if you have not been to 21, to pay us a visit in Clarkston, so you can enjoy some of the culture and the rich food that we have here. Women Watch Afrika provides. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna dive into the next question.
Sure.
Because, I think it's definitely something that people have to come out and check out Clarkston. Tell us a little bit about what you do for work, and how does that tie into the core values of as a concerned citizen.
Well, Women Watch Afrika is one of the very first organization that started doing work around civic engagement, because preventive health is tied to civic engagement, because we know that health is human right. And in order for you to have proper understanding of the issues around you and how they impact your health, you should be tying both together. you should be tying both together in terms of your health and wellness and the general welfare of the community where you live. So we work and put our health first on the agenda, making sure that people who live, work, play, and pray in the community, people who live, work, play, and pray in the community that we work with understand the value of good health and how good health impacts their health as an individual, their family, and also the community. They say health is wealth. A good bind health and wellness program with civic engagement, letting newly arriving refugees understand why it's important for them to attend community meetings in the apartment complex to talk about the welfare of residents, clean environment, how to dump proper dumping of council meetings, to vote for street lights, to vote for bringing in new amenities to enhance the community, how to build sidewalks for safety. So people really have to understand the linkage between sidewalks, so people really have to understand the linkage between sidewalks, safety, and our health, and tying both together, that is part of civic engagement.
Thank you. I think, yeah, that is very, very important, looking at how the span of being a concerned citizen and the work that you do as, being a concerned citizen and the work that you do as, Women Watch Afrika. This year will go down in history for many unprecedented events that have occurred. Two on my list, I know, like COVID-19 and, the 2020 presidential election, where some of the top, 2020 presidential election, where some of the top, events that happen. And I just want to, what feelings are invoked in you when you look back to these events? Of course, sadly, COVID-19 is still claiming a lot of lives. But, if you look back, what feelings does that invoke in you?
Justin, I must be honest, I have mixed feelings. Mixed feelings in the sense that we have irreparable losses that we cannot put back. People have lost loved ones. To now come back into a place that is meant to protect them, that is more advanced than even their own country, but to lose loved ones again and not even have the ability to be close to hold their hands as they pass away, to COVID. It's been heartbreaking. For the first time, Women Watch Afrika provided services that we have never provided before. We had to begin to link civic engagement, census work to COVID-19, because before you say to COVID-19, because before you say anything to anybody, you first and foremost want to understand their welfare and their needs. Some people were struggling to put food on the table for their children. You cannot go and tell them about, have you completed your census survey when there's no food on the have you completed your census survey when there's no food on the table for their children? So we had to make sure we were having COVID joint event with all our civic engagement. Everything we had to do was now tied to COVID, where we were now giving out relief to community members that rent sanitizers, face masks, in some cases between 15 to 12 pounds of food and toiletries and all of those things, to let the community know that you feel their pain, that you understand where they are. And then that way they are able to listen to you. And the sad part is that I do have some community members who used to coordinate volunteers who would tell me in the community XYZ need this, need that. They were also on the line in need for the same supply. This was how bad it was. That people who used to give out to others before in the community were also coming out to ask for help, especially people who work in specialized industries like the chicken factories and meat processing plants, all of those who lost their job, like you said, would go down in the annals of history
Mm-hmm.
for the sad aspect. But at the same time, we had something to be joyful about. Um, Particularly for us at Women Watch Africa, who do citizenship preparation, and we also do citizenship of all the women who came through citizenship preparation. They all passed and became naturalized citizens. So it was their first time to vote. So there was that
Wonderful.
excitement. There was that excitement in them that they are voting for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And so to now have situation where we were, because of the COVID, encouraging people to use absentee ballot. So we had,
Mm-hmm.
for those who opted for absentee ballot, we had to show them how to complete the absentee ballot request. And then when it was sent to them, to now show them how to do it quickly, and then making sure that we took them in our cars, drove them to where to make sure that they dropped their absentee ballots. And so to see that excitement in people who were voting for the first time. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
one of our ladies also granted an interview. It was for her, and also the difference that she was able to notice, because she said she was not going to do absentee ballot because this is her first time voting it. And because in her home country, you vote by the picture of the individuals, because she said over the news, over the television, you will see the faces of party by face. But in the United States, you have to know them by name. So,
Yeah.
so for those who are not literate, who are unable to like read those names and so on, they needed that guidance of an interpreter who could read and interpret to them to enable them cast their votes. This was an experience that she shared. And I turned around to tell them that they going out to vote this year, being their first year, would also go in history, because their vote also made an impact to turning
Mm-hmm.
Georgia to being blue, because for many, many years, Georgia to being blue, because for many, many years, Georgia has been ruled by Republicans.
Absolutely. And of course, like, that those are some of the highlights of this year. And, I'm very proud about, like, when I became citizen, when I became citizen, and this is something I always, talk about. You were there at, registering people to vote. So your team actually helped me register to vote for the first time ever. So I'm really proud of that. And, that's something that I'll never, never forget. And of course, like, these are things that, a lot of people have gone through, like, the question about, essential workers. You did mention that in something about, like, people who are facing, challenges, losing jobs and all of that. And one thing that I want to say is that the vaccine is being rolled out, is happening this year. Very, very fast, rollout of the vaccine, something that people didn't think it would happen. So I think that, it's good for us to kind of, look at that as something really major. And I think it's going to be another discussion as you do your work as Women Watch Africa. It's going to be another pull. People have to get it. Now, of course, there are questions of who's going to be on the line to get it, and I think that would be something that we would love to talk about in the later times. But yes, I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit. We're in the middle of we're in the middle of a Georgia runoff election right now, and I want you, can you like help break it down a little, for our listeners out there? What does it really mean? What does a runoff election really mean, and why are we having a one right now in Georgia?
Okay.
Are we having a one right now in Georgia?
Okay. Well, a runoff election is usually a second election that is conducted after a first election has been conducted, and then where none of the two candidates are able to score more than 50 points to beat their opponents. And so for that reason, they would have to slate another day for a runoff election. Now, in Georgia now, we elections, that are going to be taking place. And in fact, early voting already started, and today happens to be the last day for early voting. And then the election day itself is going to be on January the 5th. But let me say that this run on to the state of Georgia and all of us here, because in the past, for many, many years that Georgia was under the Republicans, we had two senators who were always representing Georgia at Congress, and they are Johnny Isaacson and Saxby Chambliss. Those were the two senators that Georgia had for many years. And when we had the presidential election in on November the 3rd, those seats were contested for. And there were too many candidates from both parties, both the Republican and the Democrats, all had too many candidates, that were all out to grab the seat. Too many candidates, that were all out to grab the seat. But at the end of the day, two candidates emerged from each party, took one each from either side, because they were the ones who scored the highest vote, from having John Ossoff, who is going to be contesting against with Purdue. And then we have Warnock, who is now contesting against Loeffler. But it's been an people is that whoever you vote, no matter who you vote for, the most important thing is for you to have behind your mind the reasons for why you're going out to vote. The Senate seat is the longest serving seat in the government because it takes 6 years. Serving seat in the government because it takes 6 years. Whoever that is elected to fill in whether Senate 1 seat or Senate 2 seat is going to be elected for 6 years. And so you want to know that that person you are electing to sit there to represent you and represent the interests of that person you are electing to sit there to represent you and represent the interests of Georgia generally should be somebody that you can trust to be able to represent you adequately, especially when it comes to formulating policies and nominations and all of the games that take place at the level of Congress, which is inclusive of nominations and all of those endorsing and rectifying positions that are put forward, including positions like the Chief Justice Supreme Court situation. People should really be sure that the person who they are going out to vote would adequately represent their interests, because it's not like you're voting for somebody for 2 years or for 4 years. It's a 6 years term.
Absolutely.
And it's a 6 years term.
Absolutely.
And it's a very powerful position.
And especially when we are thinking of how long they're going to serve, and I think it's very important what you say, like, all the voters out there should know why they're voting for which candidate. I think it's very important that, you've actually shine light on that, because not just going out to vote for the sake of voting. So in regards to that, we've been working on the grounds with our partners, like, you all at Women Watch Afrika, New American Pathways, the Civic Engagement Department has shared some in regards to that specific point. There's a website, called www.branch.vote. You can go out there and find out more information on the candidates that you're trying to, go vote for. So you can know exactly what, go vote for. So you can know exactly what their policies are, and things that can help you make a decision. So thank you very much, Glory, on just kind of helping us understand what a runoff election is, and all why it's important and why it's happening actually in Georgia. My next question to you about this election, I know you probably highlighted a little bit on that. What is really special about this election in particular?
Well, again, this election is very special because it grants us the opportunity to have representation at the Congress. Also, to Senate seats, like I told you, which was occupied by Johnny Isaacson and Saxby Chambliss for many, many years. These are senators who we can always go to their offices to let them understand issues that are impacting the community. And let them know issues that you want changes about, within your community. These are your elected representatives. So for us to elect 2 senators, we are electing people that we know will be capable of representing us, people that we know will be capable of representing us, people that will be able to take decisions that will impact the betterment of our lives, people that will be there to make decisions that will impact our children, our well-being, our welfare. We are also about the census that are just taking place. They are going to be sitting down to discuss redistricting and how that redistricting will affect our communities and our representation as well when it comes to that. They are going to be speaking because they make part of the members of the executives that we make all of those decisions that impact the country as a whole. And so at that time, we want to be happy that when decisions are being made that will impact the country, Georgia's voices are also being echoed by our 2 senators who will be representing us. We'll be echoed by our 2 senators who will be representing us. We've been talking about issues in the community that I work with. I just told you that we have been able to merge our health and wellness with our civic engagement program because health is human rights. We've been talking about people talking about affordable health that impacts their life. They are talking about housing, affordable housing. All of these issues are the issues that are impacting the community that we serve. So how well do we know these senators that will be representing us? How well do they understand these issues that impact on our life so that our voting rights that we have fought for many years is not eroded? So how do we make sure that everyone is impacted? Major issues that they will sit on to discuss will include decisions as to who represents us in the Supreme Court. So these discussions that will be going on there, while they sit on that seat, whoever is elected, so that's why this election for this runoff is very, very important.
Thank you. I think that's very, very,
very important.
Thank you. I think that's very, very, very important for us to, sort of like, take a moment to just look at specifically like what you say. What policies do these senators, sort of have in their manifestos, and what the sort of have in their manifestos, and what the values are. And especially when you talked about like the things that they represent, they represent the people, and all the things that they're going to be doing. Do they listen to their constituents? Do they listen to their voters? Do they listen to their constituents? Do they listen to their voters? And take action in things that are going to be really impacting the lives of the people who voted them in there. So I think it's very important for people to know exactly who they're going to be putting into those seats that, for 6 years, somebody's there, those seats that, for 6 years, somebody's there, and, because if they're already in there, you cannot take them out until,
oh, no. It's like putting your life in the hands of somebody for 6 years.
That's right. So I think, yeah, it's very important.
I say it's like you trying to pick a husband. And so you have to ask yourself, is this a husband I want to marry for one day, for 1 month, for 1 year, right, or is this a husband I want to live with for the rest of my life? I say, because this is what these seats represent for us, because in many years.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you very much. What does it really mean to you, for people out there to exercise, like, the civic duty by getting out to vote, and why do you think it's very important, of course, like, for voters to go out and vote in this particular election?
Well,
Go out and vote in this particular election.
well, I have always told people that voting is one of the things that you accomplish when you become a naturalized citizen. And to those who are American citizens, some that I come by who say, those who are American citizens, some that I come by who say, I've never voted before. And I say, why? And you just feel the apathy in them, like feeling whether I vote or not, they will do what they want to do and all of those things. And I tell them, I say, no, your one vote. I understand the history of oppression in this country, but you and I can make a difference if we continue to vote and encourage others to vote. And so not only do I encourage them to vote, I tell each one to tell 3 other people to vote. And if they have people who need help, who need rides to the polls, voting by absentee ballot and they need to drop their ballots in the ballot boxes, let us know so we can provide you with assistance to make sure that you have no excuses that your ballot gets there. Even during the period of doing a communal COVID relief and civic engagement, communal COVID relief and civic engagement, we also did some level of voter registration. Registering some people who were not registered to vote, doing address changes for some who had moved, who also wanted to have their addresses changed and did not know where to go to, because of the COVID situation. When they came for their food supply, we were able to register them to vote. We were also able to register 12 young people who are turning 18 and who will be voting for the first time. Who are turning 18 and who will be voting for the first time, To each of these groups, to each of these segment of people, we tell them that they should make sure that they are going out to vote, because it's very, very important to go out and vote. Right. And if you just sit back and say, because you're not happy with what is going on, or because things are not in your favor, then you can't change anything. You would continue to be sitting there. We did door knocking. And I'm glad today to say that that effort was very from knocking on their doors and telling them the importance of going out to vote. And some of them were like, why am I going to vote? Well, why do I vote? Oh, I don't vote. By the time you spend 2 minutes to talk to them, they are beginning to understand the value of why their vote matters. Sometimes people feel, I have no power, I have no voice, I have no say-so. Those of us who do this work in the community, it is our role to encourage these people, to tell them not to give up. Right. Encourage them, to make them understand that they are important. They want to hear that word, that they are important and that their vote counts. And encourage them to now go out and vote, no matter what it takes to get out there. Be there to support them, to make them to go out and vote. I just talked of being an interpreter at the poll to read to somebody who was waiting to see just pictures, like it's done in her country, and to see just pictures. Like it's done in her country, and that wasn't there, So these are the little pushes that people will need to get out there. Every vote is important. Everybody who is an eligible registered voter is an important individual, because
I love it. That one vote makes a whole lot of difference. And it's very important for people to know that. You talked about, like, this the oppression that has been in this country, voter oppression that has been in this country for a long, long, long time. And I think that is, like you say, discourages a lot of people to. But I want to, just like echoing what you said, I think people have actually seen how important their vote is by what happened in Georgia, especially not just Georgia, the whole nation. People came out in record numbers
True.
and their voice was heard. And I think that's something that signifies that, we don't take voting just for granted. We shouldn't take it for granted. It is something that can change lives for the better. So I just wanted to echo that. And you've really hit on points why it's important for that. And you've really hit on points why it's important for people to go out and vote. I voted already. I know you did vote already. So no matter what time,
I voted on the first day of early voting. I was number 18.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, yeah, I know. It's just like the feeling of like, I want my vote to count, and I want the listeners out there to just have that same feeling. If, there's a lot of things that might be going on, you might be dealing with a lot of like, things, family issues and all of that, that might have taken time for you to vote in time yet, but the time is, we still have a lot of time. So I think what we're trying to say is like, please go out and vote. Your vote really matters. I want to move.
Justin,
Yes.
Before we move, let me just quickly touch on one thing.
Yes.
When refugees come to this country during the Black History Month, which is, I make sure that I take them to do a visit to the King Center in downtown Atlanta so that they can understand the history of civil rights in this country. Because when they come here and you ask them, do you like America? They say, oh, yeah, yeah. I say, why do you like America? Oh, freedom. Okay. This freedom that you like us to have this level of freedom that we have. And it's also important for you to be ready to roll up your sleeve and contribute to expanding this freedom that we have to the desired freedom that each and every one of us are yearning for. So I take them there, they look at the King Center, they read they look at the King Center, they read the history. We take interpreters with us for those who don't read, for them to understand what it means to vote, the Voting Rights Act, and how people like John Lewis of blessed memory were almost killed, for talking about Black people's right to vote. So all of those things I make sure that they are educated upon. Then it makes them hungry to become citizens so that they themselves can vote.
I love it.
I wanted to share that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you actually do that, because I think it's very important for, people who share that knowledge with, folks who might not really understand. So it's really beautiful that, you take the folks that you help and you work with to really go and see, what it really took others, to get us to the freedom that we have. You talked about John Lewis, may he rest in peace. You talked about John Lewis, may he rest in peace. He talked about getting into good trouble. It's not just a matter of like, sitting back and waiting things to happen. No, it's not going to happen. You have to step forward and demand for what you need. So I think that is something very, very, think about, because it's not just at the top. It goes all the way down to the local government, things that affect our lives in the daily, we need to demand. You talked about earlier, like, the roads, the schools, the healthcare, all those issues that, matter to us, we have to go and demand. And that's very important. All eyes are on Georgia right now. Like, we're talking about this time and again. All eyes are in Georgia, the Georgia Senate runoff and the Public Service Commissioner runoff, which are also on the same day. So it's coming up. And people already voted. So it's coming up. And people already voting, people voting, and all, like, until the day of this, like I said, people voted in record numbers. So I just wanted you to, help our listeners out there, and just like explain, how are you preparing to vote? And, and just like explain, how are you preparing to vote? And, could you share just, how folks out there can, prepare to do that? And also maybe highlight a few of the important key dates.
Thank you so much again, Justin. For our listeners who are preparing to vote, one of the things I've been telling people right from when we had the November 3rd election, I say, make sure you go out to vote. Take this election like it means your life, because it does. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Right. That's
So
right.
go, your life depends on it. And so for those who are afraid of going out because of COVID, we had encouraged them to apply for absentee ballots, so that way they can cast their vote from the safety and comfort of their homes. But we made sure that we tell them to apply for the mailing system. It can get to them in good time, and then they would have the time to complete it and return it. So if there is anybody listening to us now who has not turned in the absentee ballot, please make sure you go out today and find the closest drop box to you, and drop your absentee ballot. Now, today is the last day for early voting, and we've been telling people going out to also look at the lines. The lines, except for the first day, was the only day that we had long lines, because the poll workers were also trying to understand what needed to be done. They had few hitches and so on. But other than that, every other day had been smooth. Each time I drive past any of the early voting polling centers, I go in and I look, the line's advantage of going out today to vote. January the 5th is the only other day that you can vote if you do not vote today, for early voting being the last day. If you do not have an absentee ballot that you want to go and drop in the drop box, know that your chances of voting in this runoff election would only be open on January the 5th. And as we talk about this, maybe we are paying attention a lot on just the Senate races. It's also important for us to understand that there is also the Public Service Commissioner's position that is being voted for as well. We have a runoff on that. And for those who do not understand, it is important for you to go out and vote. It's important for you to understand how your bills are made, because the Public Service Commissioner is the one who is in charge of things like communications and your gas bill and all of those bills that, when I was growing up, they say, he who wears the shoe feels it. Whoever is wearing the shoe is feeling the pinch. Make sure you're voting for somebody who is feeling that pinch on their leg like you are feeling, so that you're adequately represented. So please go out and vote. Vote like this election means your life to you, because it does.
Absolutely. I love it. And, you did talk about the key dates. I think people should pay attention to that. The January 5th would be the only day that you have. That's the last day. There's no other day, so please go out. Last day, there's no other day, so please go out and vote. You also talked about the Public Service Commission. I think, it's what we were sort of like highlighting and talking about earlier. We need to look at all the races that are there, and go out and vote. And go out and vote. There are different ways that people can go out and vote. I know the days are really come so close, and I think you've talked about today's the last day of early voting, and besides that, people have the absence of January 5th. What are some of the things they need to prepare to take with them?
Well, if you're going out to vote on the day of, it's important for you, first and foremost, to reconfirm your polling station. Make sure you go to the Secretary of State's website, ballot.sos.ga.gov, to be sure that your polling station has not been moved, so that you're going to the right place. Plan on going early. Don't wait to go out to vote last minute when they are almost about to close the polls. Because if you go early and if you are to close the polls, because if you go early and if you are on the line, even if it is 7 p.m. and you had been on the line before then, you still will cast your vote. Make sure you hold your government issued ID, because ID was a major issue, and also with signature matches that they were talking about in this last election. Make sure you're holding on to your current identification, and it could be your driver's license or your passport. For naturalized, your driver's license or your passport. For naturalized citizens, if you already have a passport, please hold on to your passport and take it with you. If you do not have a passport at this time, please take your original nationalized certificate with you. There were some people presidential election, and I happened to walk into one of those situations. And we now advise those who were walking the poll to tell them that they can allow them to go back home and bring their certificate of naturalization. Then they should give them provisional ballots so they can cast their votes. Tell people, when we are registering them to vote for the first time after they become naturalized citizen, we say usually sometimes it takes between 4 to 6 weeks for your name to appear in the system. But this period, with all that was happening, it took longer than that. And so some people's names did not appear and they were being longer than that. And so some people's names did not appear and they were being turned back, and they were depressed, like, I registered to vote, so I'm told my name would appear, I need to vote. So, but by the time they went back home and brought their naturalized certificates, they were allowed to vote because they had certificates. They were allowed to vote because they had the provisional ballots that was issued to them. So, but again, I emphasize this because it had to do with time. They went there on time. If they had gone last minute and then they were telling them, go home and bring this, they would not be able to vote. Bring this, they would not be able to vote. So it's always important, if you have to vote, please go out to vote on time so that you can spend some time to tell yourself that I'm estimating at least between 30 to 45 minutes on the line to make sure I cast my vote and leave. Please go items with you as your identification to go out and vote, your naturalized certificate if you're not sure your name would appear, and if you're voting for the first time, your government issued ID or your citizenship passport, whatever it is that is issued by the government that has your photo ID, please take it with you to go and vote. And please, please, please go out to vote on time. Again, vote like this election is your life. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Thank you.
That absolutely. Thank you very much, Glory. And talking about the vote like your life depends on it. I wanted you to tell our listeners, that when you go out and vote, does it really matter? Does it make a difference? I know there's a lot of questions that people have. Can you kind of shine more light on that? Does that vote really matter?
My vote matters every time, and I'm always happy to go out and vote. And that's why I tell people, go out and vote, because your vote matters. And you have to begin by telling yourself that your vote matters, and that that you going out to vote is very important. And then you're showing a shining example to other people that you're encouraging to vote. Because after I vote, I come and I tell people, I say, look, I've just casted my vote. This is, so go out and vote. So you get one of these stickers. And then I ask, do you need a ride, to go out and vote? Is there anything I can do to support you to go out to vote, And then we tell people, like, tell the other person, each one tell one to make sure that it's really been helpful, because some of the churches too have been helpful in terms of providing transportation to help to take people to go out and vote. Some non-profit organization like CPACS, the Center for Pan-Asian Community Services, centers two of his bus to the polls to make sure that they go out and cast their vote for those who have transportation constraints. So
Mhm.
I am a proud voter, and I tell people go out and vote proudly because your vote matters.
Absolutely, absolutely. Your vote really matters. And it absolutely, your vote really matters. And it does matter at local level. It does matter at the top, highest levels. It matters anywhere, so
Everywhere,
everywhere,
everywhere.
everywhere.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Miss Glory, for being here with us today to share these very important details for our, listeners out there. The runoff is, January 5th. Please go out and vote. We are so thankful for partners like you. I know you're very busy, community advocate, and, I don't want to keep you this long or help people go out and vote. So thank you very much for sparing your time to be here with us. Um, Thanks to all the sponsors, supporters, for Cigar Radio to provide community programming like this. Why we do this is just the support that we have from different partners and different organizations. Just to mention a few, we have from different partners and different organizations. Just to mention a few, All Voting is Local, New American Pathways, Civic Engagement Programming, the City of Clarkston, and all the other partners that have been very instrumental to support local radio stations, Cigar Radio, to provide information that, educate.
Me, everyone, please go out and vote.